afternoon. My name's Karl Murphy. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Get Spiffy, and I'm joined by Addison Lessing, the director of customer and partner success at Spiffy. And we are kicking off a new interview series where we sit down with operators in fixed operations, dealer principals, general managers, fixed ops directors who are building mobile services. The goal is of the series is simple. It's to break mobile operations down into how it really works, what decisions get made before the first van goes on the road and the first employee is brought onto that team, what goes right, what goes wrong, what are the lessons learned across the industry, how different dealers are making mobile successful in their particular market, and how does mobile contribute to dealer success? Today, we're excited to be joined by Grant Miles. Grant is the Fixed Operations Director from Cavender Ford in San Antonio, Texas. Cavender has been a leader in adopting and scaling mobile service, and Grant's the man running that show at Cavender, and he's at a front row seat on that journey, and the man making a lot of the decisions. Grant, welcome, and we really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to come join us.
Yeah, Carl, appreciate it, man. I'm excited to share and just discuss and talk about what our mobile services has mean to our business and how we keep growing it.
Thanks. Great. Hey, so to get started, share with the audience, a brief career history. Like, how'd you get to be director of fixed ops at Cavender? What'd you do before that, et cetera?
There's all kinds of things that you go through, all kind of steps and learning phases through this career. But originally started off doing sales. Ironically, like selling cars and doing all that. I enjoyed it. I was young. I was 21 years old and really enjoyed it was tough at first, but as I started to get it, I had mentors that really helped me through it. Learned a lot, started to get successful doing it, and eventually kind of progressed into the service side of it. A funny story about that is just I remember one time as a salesperson, I was going back in the service department on a Saturday, I think it was, or I think it was July 4th actually, to get some customer information. And I go back there and the service department's closed. It's like dark, nobody's there. And I walk up front to my manager and I said, "Is service department? Are they closed or what's going on?" He's like, "Oh yeah, they get 4th of July off." And I was just like, why do they get 4th of July off and we're here? We're like, well, how does that work? And then started learning more and more about their schedule. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to go there to the service side. That every Saturday thing is for the birds. So, but went over to the
Nice.
service side, started growing and developing. And I was lucky to have really good mentors as I went through it. I wanted to be a service director and then kind of moved through that. I'm with Ford now, but majority of my career has been with Toyota and Lexus. And
Nice.
as I grew through that, then I got to the opportunity of becoming a fixed operations coach. I guess consultant is a word that's used. I don't like that word. I like a coach term better, but started traveling around the country and just operating and working with service departments around the country, West Coast, East Coast, central part of the United States, down south, and learned a ton. Learned a ton about operations and processes and leadership. And then this opportunity here with Cavender came up at Cavender Grande Ford, and actually right when they were building this new location that we're in currently, and they were looking for somebody to run the fixed operations of it. Yeah. And so I did a tour of the facility. It's gorgeous, brand new, and loved it. Liked the Cavenders. The name Cavender in San Antonio market, especially here in Texas, is a well-known name. Been in business in this industry, in this market for over 75 years, and know the reputation well. And they offered it, jumped at the chance, and so now I'm here working for the Blue Oval after a long time with Toyota, and as we grow something here, and we're not there, obviously, we still have a long way to go, but it's been exciting so far just to be able to take something that's new, semi-new, and just start to expand and grow. I've been used to doing the fixing piece of it, something that's broken and fixing it this is my first time doing a build. I've never done a build like this, and it's been exciting learning new things.
Hey, so tell the audience a little bit about Cavender's business. You said they've been in business 75 years. They got this great brand in West Texas, Southwest Texas. How big's a business? What makes up, you know, on the fixed op side, how much of it's fleet and how much of it's consumer, and just give them an understanding of what sort of the operation you're running down there. And then to tell us a little bit about your mobile business and how big that is and where you're going with it.
Yeah, so Cavender here in San Antonio. So we have stores here in San Antonio locally, and then we have a store in Dallas Fort Worth area, and then a store in San Marcos. So those that don't know the area, San Marcos is about probably a 30-mile drive northeast on 35, Highway 35 of where we're at here in San Antonio. But um, the Cavenders have been in this market for, like I said, 75 years. They've been huge on the GM side of it. So own Buick GMC stores, own Chevy stores, Cadillac stores, and about, I think it was probably 3 or 4 years ago, there was a local truck center here in San Antonio called Grande Ford. That's all it was Grande Ford. Huge truck center, known mostly for, those big, everything from the small to the big white trucks that you drive by these Ford fleet markets and you see
Yep.
nothing but white trucks out on the lot. That's what it was. It was just strictly a commercial fleet dealership. Did very little retail. I mean, to the point, it was on the lot of a 18-wheeler dealer. So where people are buying Freightliners and all these large trucks, it
Right.
was on the same lot as that. Didn't even have a service department or a service, your standard service drive, right? Where you pull up and advisors walk out. Didn't have that. And Cavender bought it. It was Cavender on the Cavender Auto Group. It was their first venture with Ford. They've been GM for so long and didn't really know a lot about it, but knew that they wanted to build this location. So there's a water park here locally, or was a water park in San Antonio. That was one of the victims of COVID that they ended up shutting the water park down. It's called Splashtown. And on this site where Splashtown is where they took down everything of the water park and they built this dealership. Like, we make the joke. I'm not from San Antonio. I'm from the Houston area, but they make the joke where there's like, this is where the water tube ride was or whatever. Like, like on the lot. Like that's what people say. Or this is where the lazy river was, or the wave pool,
Right.
or whatever. So they built this huge location. It's like 120, almost 130,000 square feet of space,
Wow.
and built this dealership. And it's cool. I mean, it's top of the line. It's gorgeous. It's Ford's newest remodel venture, but it's been really heavy commercial fleet for the longest time for this dealership, for this point. And so one of the challenges moving into this environment is the dealership point that they were at before, in comparison, was very small. I mean, you're talking, if they're doing, if they're doing 800 ROs, I'm just throwing, I think it was about, if they're doing 6 to 750 ROs a month, probably 80% of that were fleet ROs. So
Right.
very, very little retail traffic, very little retail. And it was small, like between parts of service. I mean, I don't think the operations as far as the gross of that store and fixed was anything that you would think it would be. It was fairly small. I would probably say between combined fixed gross at that point was lower than, was well below 500,000 a month, right? So but now you basically, in footprint, move from that small environment to, I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, but I would guess over like triple, quadruple the footprint of a dealership. You go from probably 15 lifts in the old shop to, we have 62 bays with 57 lifts, right? Um,
Oh.
Yeah, I mean it's a huge growth. Normally you have those slow growths, right? You go
Yeah,
from
right. It just,
15
it
to
just
20 lifts to maybe 40 to, but it's like 15 to 20 up to 62, right? Like it just so, of course, with that comes a really tremendous growth in expense, right? And so we go from that to this, and that's where I say the build piece of this has come in, is because you think you're coming into it to fix it, right? But there's nothing really to fix because there's not a lot of business happening. There's business
right.
happening, you know what I mean? But it's like you don't have
Yeah.
it's not putting your hair on fire. And so um, it becomes one of those things where you need to take it from what it was to accelerate it significantly, right? And
Right.
so that's basically been where we are is um, is trying to make that growth happen in a large growth happen in like a very short amount of time, right?
Right.
Growing retail operations, almost kind of doubling it
Yeah.
in like a year, basically, like a year and a half.
Right.
So that's been our challenge at this point. Our fleet and everything has been about the same, grown a little bit, but retail is like had to ramp up significantly.
Do you have excess capacity today in those on those lifts, or are you full, or you a week
No,
out?
when I do the math and I look at what our hours, what our capacity is, and what we're actually having done, what we're actually doing, I mean, we're not even at 50% of our capacity at this point yet. Like
Okay.
we still have a long way to go. I mean, our growth has been tremendous. Like we're really like
Yeah.
growing in the right
Yeah.
direction. But when you have this expense, when you go from like very little small expense to a very large expense,
Yeah.
the rate of growth does not necessarily match the growth of expense. So you just kind of have to accelerate that thing very quickly. And when you're at 40 to 50% of your capacity, like that needs to happen quicker.
So when did you launch mobile relative to the new facility, and how do you and the dealer group, how did you think about mobile? Like, hey, we're going to go add mobile. What do you think it's going to do for the dealer?
So I got here in July of 24. We moved in this building. Our first like full month was September of 24. So when I got here, mobile operations were happening, but they weren't. I mean, you're talking, I don't know. If I had to guess at the time, it was probably like 50 mobile visits a month. Like it wasn't significant, right? I mean, we had guys that we pulled that volunteered to be mobile techs. The people that were running it previously, just being transparent, were overpaying them per hour because they needed to get people that wanted to do the job, right? And
Right.
um, probably didn't need to. I mean, we had a transit van and an escape. Probably didn't even need the transit or the escape really, but we had them anyway. Had two guys manning them, so it was such a huge expense at that point because you got two guys that are, in my opinion, at the time were high hourly rates, like not flag or anything like that, but like clock hour. And then we had a mobile coordinator at the time, and then you have two working units, right? That just weren't producing enough to cover the expense, not even with what Ford is assisting us with. So it just became a large expense. So it was happening, like the mobile piece was going on. It just wasn't effective and it wasn't productive. Moving into the new location, then we still had those same challenges and issues, but then it became about trying to let people know and market because there was no marketing. Like we weren't really promoting it effectively and very well. And so it was just kind of guerrilla warfare, guerrilla marketing, trying to get the word out that have this mobile unit available for our customers. And the other piece of that I didn't say too is that like we weren't selling a lot of cars either. We're selling a ton of fleet cars, but as far as just like retail cars, like our retail business was not very large on the sales side either. So we weren't getting that influx of customers that would even want the service to begin with, right? But that was the thing. When I got here, our GM that got me and the GM that we have currently started at the exact same time. And he's got
Nice.
a ton of Ford experience, and where he came from had an extremely productive mobile service. I can't remember exactly how many, but it was, I think, 4 or 5 plus vans in use that were, it might even been more than that. I may be shortchanging it, but that were in use traveling around the area, right? So he had already seen that work and was like, hey, we need to be at X amount by this time. And I was like, wow, we're not even close to that. So it was a challenge to, as again, not only the drive up traffic, but the mobile too, trying to accelerate that so that we were, it was becoming maybe not a super gross profit generator, but at least enough to cover expense and make it be like, okay, well, this is somewhat productive.
So where are you today? So you had two underutilized vans, or we call them assets, right? Doing about 50 ROs a month. It's probably a quarter of capacity, 20% of capacity, right? Where are you today?
So when we moved in the location, we went ahead. It's one of those things. It's when you're building a house and you they start to like customize it for you and start asking, okay, well, what do you want? And then you just start thinking of all the things that you want. Well, of course, we're moving in here, and me and our GM, Casey, we were putting down a list of stuff that we need. We're like, you know what? Let's just go ahead. We're here. We're starting. We've got like this checkbook of what do you guys need? Let us know. So we asked for another transit van because our hope and wish was that that thing starts to accelerate where we need it. So we actually got another one. So we had two transits, one escape, and two people to man both. So there were times, all three. So there were times where we would have somebody sitting, right, and not being in use. Um, Probably about, I was looking at the numbers before we got on. It was probably in May of 20, about this time in 25, we had kind of bumped it up to about 70 to 75 visits, mobile visits a month on the average, right? So it was growth, but it wasn't. I mean, if
Wasn't on fire. It wasn't on
yeah, it
fire.
wasn't on fire. If you added 25 visits over a year time frame, over a year to what you were doing the previous year, like that's not tremendous growth, right? So
Right.
that was disappointing. It was frustrating, and we're just throwing all kinds of things up against the wall to see what sticks because the strategies because it was a challenge, and the challenge was this for this market. It's a large market, but there's a lot of dealers in this market. I'm talking Ford dealers. They all know each other. They've all been in business for a long time. They all have established some type of mobile market in this area, and so you have that challenge, right, of trying to penetrate that. But then we don't have a large retail market of our own customers that are coming and buying
Right.
cars. So we don't really have a lot of people to market to. I remember we had an outside marketing company that came in and said, well, here they gave us this great um, idea of what they were going to do to market. And we told them at the beginning, our GM and I said, just so you know, we're going to be more like Conquest. This isn't going to be a taking our own customer base and marketing to them. We don't have
Because we
one.
don't because we don't have a customer base, right? Yeah.
Correct. We don't have one. And I don't know if they weren't paying attention, weren't listening, didn't believe us, but they're like, yeah, we got the plan for it. Don't worry. And so it was about 2 weeks, and the guy shows up, who was our rep, and he goes, man, I ran the numbers. You guys just don't have a lot of people to market to. And we're like,
I told you that
yeah,
last week.
I know. We had that conversation. We told you that, right? So he's like, man, well, this is going to have to be conquest only. I was like, yeah, I know. That's what we said. So we all start thinking of all these ideas to get to conquest. Where we are now, and not because we're on this call with you guys. This is like legit.
Yeah.
It's when we got on board with Spiffy, we were averaging 75 remote experiences on the average a month. And just to give you an idea, last month, if you just count mobile service ROs that we did that were sent in the Ford, we did 147.
So
So
you
where
doubled
we're
it.
at,
Yeah.
yeah. So where we're at now, we've doubled that over last year. And you got to think if we were at 50 and 24, 50 ish, at 75, let's just say to 80 and 25. Now, as we roll into April 26, we're we're at 147. And when I was looking at the numbers to date, if we're halfway through the month, if we keep this up, this pace we're going, I mean, we're on track for 200.
Is that all consumer? So what's the consumer fleet mix on your mobile on those 147? Like just rough percentage.
I'd say it's probably 50-50.
Really?
One of the things that we've hit which now is over because of this of the year, and you'll understand why I'm saying that when I tell you what it is. But one of the things that our marketing team with the Cavender Auto Group has been really done a really good job of is reaching out and building relationships with local school districts.
Hmm.
And so what we're doing a lot of is, or what we have been doing a lot of is teacher appreciation days.
Yep.
And so we're taking our mobile units out to school districts around the area, plopping our guys in the parking lot and saying, we're going to do a teacher special for a certain dollar amount, uh, and we'll do your oil changes on site, right? And
Yep.
that's been tremendously successful for us in helping with that growth, is creating that customer base that we didn't have before.
Yeah, I just didn't know because it sounded like you were, you know, like the mission at Cavender Grande Ford is grow consumer. So I didn't know if it was all consumer or you're getting some fleet in there. And it's nice. I mean, one certain advantage for a Ford dealer and then other OEMs who have significant fleet businesses, fleet, right? Because
Yeah,
it's right, trucks. I talk to dealers. I'm like, the beauty of like your fleet customers, they're horrible at maintenance, which means that they run trucks too long and they break them, and then you get to fix them because they don't want to buy a new one. So,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and so it's, unfortunately, again, you try to take care of them, but they're just busy and they don't want to give up the truck and all that sort of thing. So fleet's nice. So tell me about the technician today and how you transition from what you inherited to what you have today. And like what's important to you about them and the plus
Yeah.
minus and what advice hey, you used to be a coach, right? How would you coach some new direct fixed ops director on, okay, you need people. Here's my like 5 points about people in mobile.
So one of the things I'll say, I have been lucky in, I mean, I know this is pretty simple, right? And everybody's like, yeah, of course, Grant, like this is what we're always looking for. We just can't find it. I mean, you can have all the great processes, you can have the terrific operations, you can have terrific marketing, you can have all the stuff, but the people matter. I mean, right? I know they do it. I'm a big sports guy. They said all about sports, like it's the Jimmies and Joes, not the X's and O's, right? For us, it's been, I've been really lucky. I've got a terrific mobile coordinator. We call her CX coordinator, but mobile coordinator. Her name is Maria. She does a fantastic job of organizing it. She's super intelligent. I mean, she's smart. She is highly capable. She cares. She's organized. Like she's all the things, right? So I will say part of my biggest, one of the biggest bonuses that I had when we kind of started growing this was the people, and having Maria to run that. Like she's fantastic. Like I would say, if anybody wants
Yeah.
to have someone that they want to have a mobile coordinator and they want somebody to learn from, like Maria's fantastic. She's wonderful. And then I had a guy, Tony, who was our mobile tech. Tony's former military, very so very respectful, very well spoken. Um, he wants to do a good job. He's motivated, and he's just great. Like he's awesome. I mean, he's awesome. And again, I think it's the same thing. Like he cares. I mean, before we
Right.
hopped on the call, I was telling you, like,
Right.
what do I care about? I said it in different terms than what I'm saying right now, but they care. Like they want to do a good job.
Right.
They want to do well. And so right there, like I'm starting off on the positive because I have two good people. And
Did Tony come from your shop or did you recruit him in?
so Tony came from the shop. Tony was in the shop, just doing stuff, and it wasn't myself. It was someone else that was here. Our service director before me asked him if he wanted to do it, and as I told you, the numbers they were paying per hour, uh, like I don't blame them for doing it. I mean, I thought
Right.
it was
It
nuts
was
what they were
juicy.
paying them.
It
Yeah,
was
it
juicy.
was super juicy, and but I get why they did it because
Right.
they need to make it appealing for
Right.
someone to do, right? It's just hard for someone like myself to come in and look at the numbers and go, "Holy crap,
Yeah.
are we all really paying these people this? Like, what is
Right.
this?"
Like, yeah, like
And
maybe
have
I'll
them
go
be
do
the
that.
yeah, and have
Can
them
I
be
have
the
that
bad
job?
correct, and
Right.
have to be the bad guy to go in and be like, "Hey, you do a great
Right.
job. Guess what?
So
I'm
let me ask you,
reducing."
so today, so a big question we get from new mobile dealers is how do you pay them? And when they say how, you know, is it flat rate? Is it hourly? Is it salary? Is there a bonus in there somehow? Like, do you mind sharing just conceptually? You don't have to share what you're paying them, but just
No, it's fine.
conceptually how you pay those guys?
So that's been the trick for me too. So my previous job before this, I told you I was a coach traveling around. Like I would work with Ford dealers, and these were questions, right? Because you had some dealers that were in a metro area, so had a lot of opportunity, and then you have some dealers that are in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin, right?
Right.
That don't have a lot of people around them. They have more open space and green grass than people, and so they just don't have a lot of so you're trying to figure that out, right? Like you're trying to grow that mobile service, but you don't really know how to pay it because your offset doesn't match what your expense is. So we pay hourly. So I did all the math with it. I looked at paying flag and paying them for the drive and doing all these things. I felt that a person in that role and position, I want to have some comfortability that they're not going to have to like if they're in a car they're doing something they're not thinking about well I got to hurry up because I got to get to the next one because I'm getting paid flag right like I'm paying them more to have the customer have a good experience than speed is not
Right.
necessarily what I want so
Yeah.
I do pay them hourly it's to what I think is fair for our market and what their hourly rate is and then I pay them on experiences they provide a dollar amount. So if they replace an engine air filter, I'll pay them $2. If they replace wipers, I'll pay them $1 for every occurrence. If they do 100% MPIs on the vehicles, I'll give them a dollar. I'll give them a certain dollar amount for every inspection they do, like
Right.
those kinds of things. And so it's just an Excel spreadsheet. I run
Yep.
our reports at the end of the month because I can get opcode usage numbers, see how many times they do that, add it to my spreadsheet, and then they have a bonus at the end of the month for I do pay them for their flag time, but it's like it's $5 as opposed to $30, right? Because they're already getting an hourly rate. And so I'm thinking about it from a standpoint of if my goal was to pay somebody, let's just say $30 a flag hour, maybe I reduce the hourly and bridge the gap with a smaller amount per hour that could like
Yeah.
effectively get them there if they get to that, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah. Yeah, great. So that's for everybody listening, that's sort of best practices. What we see in the most successful dealers is, it's hourly or salary plus a bonus that you feel comfortable with based on what's important to you.
yeah,
Again, I think the headline is it's hard to play in flat rate because it creates nervousness and negative behaviors. Like again, they drive too fast, they cut corners, and they do things because they're out on the road. They have these set of inefficiencies that come from being mobile versus in your shop. And so you got to give them you got to, and and they have a house and a car and a family they got to feed, and they expect to make X dollars every week. You got to for doing the job you expect them to do, you got to make them feel like they can earn that money plus some, right, for doing the right thing. And so, great
yeah,
job again. I think it's one of the foundational things that it's interesting. So if you're listening and you're new, the pay plan and the technician is foundational to success. If you get the wrong people and you pay them the wrong way, you will struggle to launch successfully. And we see that, like, again, we come in and we sell software vans, and we do a little bit of consulting in the sense that this is what we see as best practice. And then it's the dealership's business. Like, we can't tell them what to do or how to run the place, and we see a lot of success modeled on Cavender Grande, and then we see less success when you sort of deviate from those.
Yeah, because the way I look at it is this, like, what's the purpose of the mobile besides, getting them out and like getting work generated? Because sometimes it's like you have a capacity problem, right? So you're full in the shop, and how do you extend that so that you can get work outside of the dealership area? We don't necessarily have that problem. So ours is more of a retention tool, right?
Right.
We're trying to grow market share, and we're trying to grow our customer base. And if we're trying to do that, I don't do that by sending out a technician who's worried about his flag hours and pissing off customers, right? Like, that
Right.
defeats the purpose of the thing. The thing is to try to grow business, not remove business. And
Yeah.
so I want them thinking about giving the customer a good experience. And just so you know, part of my pay plan too, there is a deduction for a bad experience. So if I get a customer that calls me and says, "Hey, Joe Smith was out at my house, and he got oil all over the place. He was super rude and all that," they get deducted off of their bonus for every occurrence of that. So they know if they don't provide a good experience, they
Right.
will be financially held responsible
Right.
for that bad experience. So you have
Yeah.
that element too. But yeah, I don't, the last thing I want them concerned about is if they're going to get paid for that visit.
Yeah.
I don't want them thinking that way.
So so dealers coming to mobile are terrified about putting technicians in driveways because they're concerned about the bad experience. Do you have a lot of that? I mean, you're doing 150, going to 200 hour, you're growing, right? Um, is it a real problem for you, or is like, every day, like, it's really the rare exception that we have an issue?
It's a rare exception we have an issue. I think, and look, I don't know what it, I think it's the people. Like, I know I've said that
Right.
before, but I do. I mean, I think the people matter that you're getting. And I've, we're lucky in that we have some good people. But I do think, I would like to think that pay structure has something to do with it, because
Yeah, for sure.
they're not concerned about their money necessarily, right? And
Right.
so our occurrences, like our NPS scores with Ford, when it comes to the mold piece of it, is so high, so much higher than when people come in the door, that it's like it's almost kind of, for us, it's been almost a guarantee. If we get a mobile visit, it's going to result in a good survey from a customer.
Right. Yeah, we see that across all of our customers. By and large, like 99.9% of mobile experiences, customers are very happy.
Yes.
And again, I think, to your point, great people, reasonable pay plan, reasonable process, like, the thing just works. It's just something. We actually talked to fixed ops directors, right? Like, the dynamic is the owner, the principal, and the GM all want to go, and then the guy in your seat's like, "Look, dude, I got enough problems, making the shop work. Now you want to take my shop and move it 30 miles down the road, and I can't put eyes on it. I can't see what they say. How does that work?" And so it's this big obstacle to fixed ops directors getting on board with a team who want to start mobile in many cases. And so you guys are doing a great job. Hey, let me turn it over to Addison. Addison, for everybody else, his job is to make, he has a customer success team, and his job is to make people like Grant successful every day. And so Grant and his team will talk to Addison and his team. Um, and there's a ramp up. We spend a lot of time with you when we start. There's like this implementation and training phase that we go through. And then there's sort of like, here, go. But then things happen, right? Hey, we want to add something. We want to change op codes. Something broke on our end, spiffy. Something broke on the dealer side. The DMS changed. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that goes on. My message to you as a future customer is, Addison's here to make that, partnership work. One of the things I'm most proud of is people like, I'm not putting words in Grant's mouth. other customers have said this publicly. Spiffy's a partner of ours. They didn't sell us software and then leave and say, "Hey, like, figure it out. You're on your own." And so Addison, take over and talk to Grant and ask him. I know you know a lot about his business from your work.
Yeah, yeah,
But hey,
absolutely.
just before you go, Addison, I will say, Karl, what you said though, I echo. Like I never got that feeling. Here's our software. Peace out. Like I never. I've since we got on board, I've never had that feeling.
Thanks, Grant. Well, that's the standard. And before the call, we had sort of a catch up. And you know, when I talk to people like Grant every day, I'm like, if it's not 5 stars and you don't feel like there's a partnership, call me. Again, we're not perfect. Our stuff breaks every now and then. Our people aren't perfect. Um, we're outsiders to the industry, so a lot of times we show up with an idea and it's like close but not perfect. And so we need someone like Grant or people on his team to say, yeah, you're in the right grid square, but we got to move a little bit. And so, and we're there for you on that. So, okay, Addison, back to you. I could
Yeah.
talk a hungry dog off a meat truck. So,
You and me both. No, and then I'll tell you too. So for Grant and for the audience as well, anytime I call Karl with a hey, like this is the new dealer that we're going to be partnering with, and let's figure out what we're strategizing, what we're focusing on. First things out of Karl's mouth are always the exact same, which is go make them successful. In those exact words every time, and that I think is very well reflected in that partnership. We certainly are not the provide you a software option and move on from there. It's our job is to go and try to make you as successful as possible. So Grant, I'm so thrilled to hear that you've had that experience, and it's the experience we expect all of our dealers to have when they partner with us. And the approach that I'm going to take with you too is going to be more ground level because this is what Adam, our partner success manager on my team, works with your team on a daily basis. Is how do we make sure that the day to day is running as smooth as possible using the platform and outside of it, just looking at strategy. So you talked about coming into the operation. There was already sort of a mobile operation going, wasn't anything of big volume or anything like that. I know you talked a little bit about marketing, but from an operational standpoint, logistics, early on, what were some of those bottlenecks you saw? Was it around routing? Was it around parts and supplying parts and inventorying them on the van? What were some of those early issues that you were like, we got to get this figured out before we can grow it to the scale we need to?
I think it was a few. Our biggest was opportunity. Just having opportunities of people using our service, I think was our biggest. It's been our biggest challenge across the entire dealership since we've opened this place up to get car sales, people here financing cars, people here servicing cars, buying parts, like that whole ecosystem has been challenging to grow, even though it was already there, but on a very small scale. As I said when we started talking about it, it's one thing if you gradually grow, but if you grow like from small to large very quickly, you don't have the business right out the bat to catch up, right? So for us, our bottleneck was opportunity. So having the opportunities to go out and do that. So that meant people knowing that we were here, knowing that we were available for that. But our other thing was the not necessarily the dispatching, but just the focus of organization of the day. Like for Maria, as good as Maria is and as smart as she is, it was all basically like post-it notes and written calendars of Tony's here, Juan's here today, like that. It was, and so the information in would be overload sometimes because Maria is handling pickup and delivery. She's handling mobile services. She's taking appointments. Sometimes the phones aren't getting picked up and she picks up the phone. She's handling making sure that they're flagged on the ROs. Like she's handling all these things. And there was just no organization to it. Like that was our processes were what were the biggest roadblock was, is that it was just it was shotgun blast, right? It's like just everything going everywhere. And it was effective to a point, but then it's like, man, if you want to scale it and you want to grow it, there has to be some organization to this. If customers are calling in, where's it going? If they're setting appointment online, where's that going? What are they seeing? How effective and how easy is it for them to set an appointment? Like all these different things. And it was just processes and organization that was a challenge.
Yeah. And that's great, Grant. What's something interesting too about, my career path at Spiffy is this is exactly how I started at Spiffy. And 12, 13 years ago when we were a small mobile operator in a single market, just trying to provide some independent service to consumers, this is exactly what my morning looked like as well. As I started in the scheduling and dispatch side, and it was a combination of Google calendars and post-it notes and a
Yes.
journal and you get one thing that goes wrong, and the hardest thing I think about that is when one thing goes wrong, because now you have to move 10 pieces and like you're trying to find the post-it note from the one customer you talked to because you know that there was
Yeah.
something about it. So that's awesome stuff. And you were talking about the opportunity, and I know you've talked about some heavy marketing presence and building that consumer base for you, that retail base for you. And it's awesome to hear that you're at about a 50-50 on that mobile side. That's a dramatic, increase from being a dealer that started at north of 80% fleet, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Um, on that marketing side, what are some of the things that you've seen successful on like the tactics on it? I've got some dealers that, they'll go out, they'll push a marketing promotion via email. We'll do X amount of dollars off, or hey, we're just getting started. What have been some of the levers you guys have been able to pull in marketing that you found to be more successful than others?
So I think the message matters. And what I mean by that is like, what are you offering and for what? We had a vice president of fixed operations that came to our group that was saying, he wanted, which I had never thought of in this way, but it showed to be effective, that you are Todd Flowers is who I'm talking about. He's the one that brought you guys on board and suggested you, is like, let's let the customer know what's special we're offering them. So like, what could it have been, but what are we offering, right? And I think our message of, if you come in at regular price, it's this. If you do this mobile, it's this. Because we were doing dollars off and things like that, but it was like, dollars off of what? Like, I mean, you can offer $40 off for a mobile service, but if the regular service is $160, like, I'm still paying 120. Like, what does that matter? Right. So we would promote what it could be and what it is if you do mobile, right? So that dollar amount is flashing into their face, and they see, oh, I could spend this if I go in, but if I have them come to me, it's this, right? So I think that message is effective. Where we put the message through all of our mailers, not only through our co-op messaging with Ford, with our marketing group that we use, even the messaging to the point of the in-person visit is price is this big, the mobile price is this big, right? So it's in your face what that's going to look like. It's putting that up on our website so that people can come in and know if we come to them exactly what that price looks like on our marketing for that. But I think the messaging piece has been important to what we're actually doing, what deal you actually get if you do it mobile in comparison to coming inside. And of course, it's all your normal Facebook, all that stuff. Like that's kind of a given, but it's just heavy promotion of mobile, mobile, mobile. Like it's imprinted in their brain.
Yeah.
And just not only that, but the beginning piece of it too, whenever the customer's here buying a car, when they're walked on the service walk to see the service department and meet everybody here, one person they go to immediately is Maria. And they meet Maria. Maria tells them what she does. She tells them what we offer. And I can hear it because it's around my office when the doors open. Oh, y'all do that? Oh, that's awesome. Y'all do that. That's fantastic. So it's that piece too, not only in finance when they're in the box, but afterwards coming out and meeting Maria.
No, that's awesome. So I love something you said a second ago, especially in the marketing of, the messaging is really matters. I liked how you mentioned, you've got your fixed operation or your in-shop price here, and then you've got your mobile a little bigger. And it's interesting because it's not that we're necessarily positioning mobile as better than the Bay or anything. It's that in so many cases, and you just alluded to it right at the end, it's like the customer just doesn't know you can do that as a mobile service. And so
Right.
there's an education component to it that I think that helps a lot with. So that's really cool to hear. And
Well,
good.
and one thing, Addison, I will add to that. One of the things that the Cavenders are really working on, the marketing or the message is, every auto group has their messaging, right? the thing that we're trying to message with our customers in relation to not only the group, but with our Ford dealership is service your way. So like as a customer, the option's yours. Like we're here to service you as you see fit. So if you want to come in and visit and see our new beautiful facility and sit in our comfortable waiting area and grab our snacks and be comfortable, you have that option. If you want us to come pick up your car and drop it off with you when we're done, you have that option. If you want us to come to you to do the service, you have that option. Like you have options. We're here to facilitate your desire. You tell us what you want to do, as opposed to Mr. Miss Customer, we're doing this, and you either get in line or like that's just not happening, right? So it's that message too. Service your way is what we're trying to promote.
No, I love this because it's really about customer first. It's
Yeah,
always taking
absolutely.
it from the customer's perspective of what is going to work best for your schedule, for your life, what you have going on, your vehicle. So I absolutely love this. I'll pivot this to an because I was thinking back to some conversations you were having with Karl earlier too. I've certainly worked with a number of dealers, and everybody's run into their challenges with trying to figure out how to price technicians and how to get that. A big concern I've heard from dealers, especially that are in the very early phases of, do I want to do mobile? Do I not want to do mobile? Is, well, I think my guys are going to worry that, my in-shop guys are going to worry we're like taking work off their plate. We kind of always go with a different mindset of like, no, we're freeing you up as a master tech to actually do the work that you're skilled at and you enjoy. But from your side, from your perspective, have you seen any of that? If you have, like, how have you sort of overcome that? And if not, then even better. But I'm curious from your perspective if you've seen or heard any of that as well.
We really haven't, to my knowledge at least, we really haven't had that challenge or that brought up in our shop. I think part of it was just simply the fact that at the beginning the penetration wasn't there, that like we were taking away a lot of work from those guys. Like that wasn't the case. So I don't think that became a major issue. But as we've grown it hasn't become necessarily a big concern or problem. But look, if anybody came to me, if a technician came to me, like you said, like one of our senior master technicians came to me and was like, hey, I'm concerned that like your mobile service is growing and it's taking business away from me. I would just ask them, I'd be like, well, what are you concerned that it's taking away from you?
Yep.
And just see what their feedback is, right? And if they're like, well, I mean, I don't know. I was like, well, are you doing a lot of reflash and are you doing a lot of module reflashes and refreshing or updating? Are you doing a lot of uh, you know trim appliques? Are you replacing all that? Are you doing these like point 0.3, point 0.4 half hour recalls? Well, no, I'm not. Okay, well then you're cool. Like, don't worry about it. You're all good, man. You're not affected by this, right? We're not going out and doing engine jobs. We're not going out doing rear differential, rear axle repairs. We're not doing transmission jobs. Like, don't worry about it. Like, you're okay. Like, we're not affecting you whatsoever. And if it's that big a deal to you and we find some people that you want to do that, hop in the van and go. Like, there's nothing keeping you from going to do that, right? So when you offer that to them and you say, okay, well, cool. Well, tomorrow we have 10 of these set up at TexDot for these reflash. You can go do it. Here's the van. And they're like, well, I mean, I got stuff I got to do. And we're like, okay, well, there you go.
There,
So you're all good, dude. Don't worry about it.
no, see, and you just nailed it there, right? I've got an example of a dealer who, was 6 weeks out on booking. They were having a capacity issue, right? And my kind of discussion with them went in the direction of like, your master techs are complaining that they're not doing oil changes. I have
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
been in a shop that I've had techs, master techs going out there and saying, I want more oil changes in my bay. Like that's never
Correct.
what they want to see. So that's awesome.
Correct.
Well, look, I'll wrap us on our side with one question I always pose to any dealer that comes on and talks with us is if you had to start over tomorrow. Now, granted, you got to come in at I think a best time with Cavender Grande Ford there of really launching and scaling the mobile program. But if you looked back and said, I got to start it over tomorrow with a new program, what would be like the one or two things you would do to set yourself up for success from day one, knowing now what you do?
I was just really lucky. I had the right person to run it, Maria. Like I do like, all credit to Maria and how effective she is. I would say that until you find that right person that you trust can operate it in the way it's supposed to be operated, I I would wait until you, because again, it's a retention piece, right? Like this isn't no, and that's the other thing I'll say to dealers. Like if you're like, well, what are we going to make on it? Like if we do mobile, like what's our gross profit percentage going to be? And once I know what that looks like, then I'll start to engage in that. I'm going to tell you, if that's your thought, you're going to be severely disappointed right off the bat. Like it's not a profit generator. And I know in this era of we got to make gross profit, grows, net, net, net. I understand that that's against that. So people are like, well, then why would I do it?
Yeah.
But it's not that. It's at the beginning, it's not at least. And so you're trying to gain market share, you're trying to gain customer base, you're trying to fix the capacity problem. So the person, like find the person first. The person matters. You can have all the terrific processes, the marketing equipment, all that stuff. Find the person. And if you haven't found that person, don't do it yet because that person really matters and can make it effective. So I think that would be the first thing. And two, I should have been much more aggressive like I am now whenever I first got here. And what I mean by that is I was trying to thread a needle when it comes to the pricing and like trying to make sure that like all the things were like I just should have like gone at it right away and just been super aggressive with my pricing, super aggressive with my marketing, super aggressive with the way that I tried to do that. Now, not making stupid decisions, but just like not trying to thread that needle of doing it perfectly. Just do it. Like, man, just rip the band-aid off, make it as cheap as you possibly can make it enticing to people, and then just do it. Like that's the thing for me. Because if you're trying to engage in this, like, well, what's our gross profit percentage? Like, what are we doing? What's our hour per RO? Like, what's our thing? Let's make it get that before we start. Man, just go at it. Like VIN share and market share is like really what you're trying to accomplish. And if you have that mindset of how can we grow VIN share, how can we grow a market share, how can we do that? Like price and all that stuff doesn't matter. Like just go at it. Like that's where I would have done it differently. Is just been much more aggressive. It's like if you're gonna do it all the way, right? Like um it's a television show. I heard it and the line is great and I love it. It says, don't ever half-ass anything, full-ass one thing, right? And it's like, I just wanted to like go right at it, right? And just do the whole thing if you're going to do it. That would be my suggestion.
No, and Grant, we've talked about it a lot. Spiffy tries to in every way be a partner to the dealers we work with, and I've certainly been in dealers that I've felt were in that death loop of they want it to be perfect from day one, and what's the saying, right? Perfection's the enemy of progress. Like you'll never get it perfect on day one. There's always going to be variables in your market and your dealer that we don't foresee, you don't foresee, and that you have to adjust for. But I think you're absolutely right. Like let's establish the primary goal, and that's get mobile started. Now, what do we need to do that? Let's march that direction. And I couldn't agree more with you on having a point person. That is so incredibly important. We've worked with, dealers in the past who it's like it's a part of somebody's job, but not really their whole thing. And it's not to that person's detriment or to that person's fault at all. They're just spread thin. And so, when you're diverting attention between two different things and you know one much better than you know the other, you're always going to focus on the one you can make succeed off the jump. So, Grant, great answers and appreciate all your contributions and discussions. And I think the theme that I've heard from you more than ever today in this call is people matter. People matter more here than just about anything else. Is who you have running, leading, operating, and executing your program. So with that, Karl, I'll kick it over to you to close us out. But Grant, appreciate all your answers, sir.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, thanks, Grant. My name is Karl Murphy. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Get Spiffy, and you have been listening to our customer engagement series, specifically with Grant Miles from Cavender Grande Ford in San Antonio, Texas. We would love to help you out if you're thinking about going mobile, you're going mobile, or you need to optimize your mobile business, or you're confused and you're in the dust cloud and you need somebody to help pull you out of it. Please give us a call. We'd love to talk to you about it. Have a great day.